Hello and welcome to the Favourite Football Podcast. I'm James Killick and with me today are Ben Howard.
Oh, hello and what a night.
And James Brett.
You right, mate?
Yeah, how are you both doing? Good? Enjoyed the weekend?
Yeah, that was a great weekend of football, actually.
There was enough goals, wasn't there?
And what a night. Dun, 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 dun,
We know why you're happy,
dun,
Ben,
dun,
but we
dun,
don't want to
dun.
upset any Brighton fans, so we're going to go straight into it. Actually, before we get into the action, a massive shout out and a thank you to Wavy Kate, who left a 5-star review, which read the best. I've now listened to every episode. This is the most underrated football podcast.
Well, he has fantastic taste, clearly, so.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kate.
Up the Kate.
Wavy Kate. Don't be rude.
Not literally, mate, come on.
Fucking hell, Ben, you got a girlfriend. Alright, let's get straight into the action then, shall we? If we must. So, the first game we're going to start with was Tottenham Hotspur 2, Arsenal 0. And Ben, take it away.
What was the scoreline again, Killick?
Yeah, we know what it was.
What was that? What's the scoreline? Because I really want to hear it from you again after your dismantling the Palace last week. Go on.
I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't write that song. It was Tottenham Hotspur 2, Arsenal 0. And, so, Brett, I'm going to pass over to you. What do you think again?
Ben had his chance, he's passed.
Inject it in my veins.
Yeah, obviously, it was the first one back with fans as well, so it made it kind of a special occasion for the North London derby and everything. And, again, I feel a bit weird saying this every single time, but it was kind of a Mourinho masterclass again, wasn't it? You know, Arsenal with the most possession, but it's just that they played into their hands again, and Spurs were just so rock solid at the back, and they were just so good on their counter-attack. And again, it's them pair, it's, you know, Heung-min Son and Harry Kane combining, like they both had a goal each and they both assisted each other. And you're just seeing the same story week in, week out now. I think they are starting looking a bit serious now. I think they could be contenders, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think, yeah, we did have a lot of possession, but also the problem with Arsenal, I think, is we put a lot of high balls into the box and we don't score headers like that. And we just kept sort of doing it over again. And as you say, they countered. Obviously, it was a bit of a weird one. My party sort of been injured and going off and etc. But I mean, there was the other goal from, you know, Son, which was just ridiculous. And then, you know, they just sat back and they were happy to do it. And I have to say, they do look like that was, I think, the first game I watched. And I just thought, oh man, I think they've got a chance of winning this league. Not because it was against us, but just because it was just carried out so perfectly, wasn't it? And you just thought, oh, fucking hell, they're quick, they're strong, they're obviously, you know, well drilled with Mourinho, and I thought, fuck.
It was proper, like, reminiscent, wasn't it, of, like, what you expect from a proper title-winning Jose Mourinho team.
Yep. It
was kind of like, you know, when they had Chelsea, those sort of days when they were winning the league, it was very similar to that, and I was like, oh, do you know what, this is making me feel a bit on edge. Like, he's got those, like, front three playing so well. I'm really impressed with Højbjerg as well. And
Yeah, I was going to say he defies what Mourinho is about. Like, he was bought under the radar. He could have gone Everton this summer. He rejected it anyway. Went to Tottenham. And I think he defies what Jose Mourinho is about. And he's been class this year, Højbjerg, and he's literally just summed up what Spurs have been about this year. And he just does everything. He does the simple things well, and he does his job unnoticed. And I think that's what makes it work so well for Spurs. Although Son and Kane are getting the headlines, Højbjerg's kind of keeping them ticking in the middle.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why I have to mention him, because obviously every single week at the moment with Spurs, we're mentioning Harry Kane and Son, because obviously they're, you know, performing excellent and they're doing amazing things. But like you said, under the radar, he's been pulling the strings and he's been, you know, the extra screen in front of the defence anyway. But he's also just a link between, you know, defence and midfield, and he gets the ball forward so quickly, and it's so important when you have a counter-attacking team like Spurs anyway. Like we saw yesterday, I think it was Arsenal had 62% possession in the first half, and they were caught on the break twice for moves that literally started from that quick transition, which he was always a part of. And that's what's going to define their success this season, if they carry on the way they are.
And Gareth Bale can't even get in the Spurs team at the moment.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Imagine having a luxury like that on the bench.
It's not bad, is it? Yeah, I think it was a very professional performance. They, I wouldn't say they deserve the win in a sense that I guess if you looked at the stats, maybe say, well, maybe they didn't deserve it, but they did in the sense that they did exactly what they wanted to do, and you can't knock it. But we've got a long way to go yet. I mean, Harry Kane injury, who knows what would happen?
Well, I suppose you kind of wish he had an injury before he faced you. That's now 11 goals in North London derbies, the most of any player in the fixtures history.
Yeah, so. I know.
He loves it.
Thank God for a match of the day, playing out all of them goals at the end. That was nice.
I can imagine just a single tear rolling down your cheek.
I remembered every single one. I was like, this is the header.
Power right in the kisser.
The corner.
Power right in the kisser.
The first cut is the deepest.
I mean, it was a good performance from them. And obviously I touched on Son's goal a moment ago, but that finish was absolutely incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah, like obviously I guess you could sort of say that maybe, the Arsenal defence afforded him a bit too much time to sort of cut inside and then pick his spot. But yeah,
where was Bellerin? Where was Bellerin? He was planting a tree by the looks of it. He didn't even go near him.
You can sort of say that for both goals, really. Like, you don't know where most of the defence were, but yeah, that finish was excellent. That is world class. Like, I think some people sort of don't really put him in that category, but I think he's up there with top 5 sort of players in the Premier League. Easy.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think if you have more of a presence sort of off the pitch, in terms of, if we saw more of him doing other things, I think he would have that reputation. But just as a footballer alone, yeah, I mean, come on, the guy is a machine. What is he? 28 years old now. Son, he signed a new contract, didn't he? I think after the international tournament. So looks like he's going to be there for a couple more years.
Yeah, I think he's had a good career there so far. And if things keep carrying on like this, he might even actually have some silverware to actually go with it as well. That'd be nice for him. Same as Kane, actually. He deserves to have a trophy.
You can't really dislike either of them players either, which is even more annoying. Because obviously Kane, England player, but also, he's just a good, honest striker, isn't he? And now Son as well is just absolute incredible ability and so exciting to watch. Some of Son's goals in this Premier League have been fantastic, so is what it is. So, I mean, what do we think about Arsenal then? We worried?
Yes. Because the fact that you've given away more foul throws since October than you have points.
Isn't that mostly Bellerin as well? Hasn't Bellerin given
5 foul throws and you got 4 points since October? I mean, that's quite horrific reading.
Is this now officially the worst start to a season for Arsenal? Or
it is, yeah.
So what about Arteta though? Is it actually more him the problem or the players? You think?
I think it's probably a bit of both. And it's hard to be too critical right now because, I mean, even if we totally mess up this season and finish, say, 16th, we did win the FA Cup and we did win the Community Shield. It gives him something. I think he's got more time. Obviously, we need to give him more time. We can't just keep swapping managers, but at the moment it's not working. We need to find a way to become more attacking because obviously Aubameyang's completely off the pace, isn't he? Recently,
yeah, but that's bizarre though, isn't it? Because obviously last year he had such a successful season. Scored a shit ton of goals. And then what's changed this year? Like players wise, you haven't really lost anyone that you didn't have last year. So why is it all of a sudden that he's just dropped off to this extent? Because it's such a huge dip in form, and it's hard to explain. Not even just him, but Lacazette and all your attacking players. To be honest.
Yeah, I thought Lacazette was disappointing as well, actually, yesterday. And he sometimes he's just still, he's too still. He just stays in the same place. And if you saw Match of the Day, you'd have seen the analysis where they were saying, someone's got the ball here in midfield and now we're going to look at Lacazette. And he was just standing like his back to a defender or whatever. It's just poor. It's just poor. And I think Lacazette, we just need to get rid of him. Just get rid of him out of the team and find another solution there. But we'll have to see what happens, and well done to Tottenham, I guess. Right, let's move on then to the next game. Ben, I guess you can take us away on this one. West Brom 1, Crystal Palace 5.
Did you write a song about this weekend, about Palace winning 5-1 against West Brom?
No. No, I don't know what you're talking about, mate. It wasn't me. Go on then, Ben. Take it away,
a nice song intro.
Take it away.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of a weird one, because if they had 11 men on the pitch, would we have won by a convincing margin? So it's kind of one of those where we took advantage of them having 10 men. But I think even if they had 11 men on the pitch, I still think we would have really narrowly edged it. And I said it for the Leeds game as well. It's amazing when you put creative players on the pitch, you actually score goals. And when you have creative players on the pitch, we actually scored goals, believe it or not. And yeah, Eze was part of it all again. Zaha was back as well. We're pretty much useless without Zaha in the team. And it's just nice to watch when you've got these attacking players in your team and you actually want to attack, you want to score. And when you've got Benteke scoring 2 goals with the same amount of goals Aubameyang has this year, you know you've played well.
That's when you know 2020 is a messed up year when he's scoring 2 goals, mate, you know.
Yeah, I know.
You're right though. Like, I pretty much agree with pretty much everything you said. Like, we spoke about it in previous podcasts with, you know, performances with Palace, and we've always sort of touched on how frustrating it is when he brings out the attacking players like Eze and all the rest and puts them all on at once, and they perform so well to such a good standard. And it's actually quite fluid attacking football from Palace. And then, like, a couple of weeks later, he'll revert back to what we call, like, you know, your bog standard Roy Hodgson football.
Roy Ball.
Yeah, Roy Ball. And it's just shit. Like, what are you doing? Like, but this was a prime example of it going very, very well. I know obviously they're then down to 10 men and obviously they scored the own goal in the first place, but I think even regardless of that, you would have gone on to win that game. Zaha was absolutely electrifying. And like I said before on that previous podcast, when you don't have Zaha in a team, you're not the same team at all. Like, you just can't function at all. So the fact that he's in great form this season, how many goals is that now?
7 goals and 3 assists. And I'm not sure if that's included in the assist for the own goal as well. So it's been quite productive from this year compared to last year, because last year he wasn't really at it, but this year he's kind of proving that he is actually a very good footballer, and that's probably his last chance to earn a move. Like, if someone offers the money we want, they will get him, but it all depends if someone offers that money for him. But I would say he's been bang on for money this year so far.
I just don't think he should move, really. I don't know where he'd necessarily go. I don't think he necessarily starts for any of the top 6 or 7. For me, I think the difference is this season is you haven't had that hype around him like you have most summers. Like, oh, where will Zaha goes? Oh, wants a bigger challenge, all the rest of it. And then this year there was none of that, and it sort of just feels like he feels a lot more settled, and you know, everything around the club feels like it's settled as well. I think he's such a big part of the club that when he's not settled, it affects everything else. So it's good to see him.
He's the main guy. He's the main guy at Palace. He's grown up at Palace as well. He's raised a family as well. He's got a family at Palace as well. So he is basically a Palace legend in many Palace fans' eyes because of what he's done at the club and that. But I think now he's got his head put down. He's got Eze with him as well, who I think he links up well with. He's thriving a bit more now because there was an over-reliance of him last year. Like, there wasn't that other attacking impetus with him to help him, but now we've got Eze that's going to help him with that creativity that will benefit us more.
He was classiest as well, Eze, when he did that little dribble for all the players, and obviously before Zaha got to it and scored his second goal, I think it was. And he was doing that all game. He was that sort of player just sort of carrying the ball forward and just sort of trying to make something happen, which you don't necessarily have sometimes, you know, like you don't really get that from RU as much, or Townsend's very hit and miss if he's playing. So it's good to see him. He's growing every game. Like, he's growing in confidence and stature at the club.
I just hope Roy keeps up with it, the same team, and wanting to be creative in that. I think the one thing that lets us down is a bit defensively at the moment. Sometimes defensively we're a bit PV at the back. I don't really trust. Like, going forward, he's great, but at the back he's a mess, as you saw for their first goal, how easy it was for them to get down that side and that. And I think Klein's done well. I think he had a shaky start at Palace, but he's come on leaps as well since he's been back. So I think there's a couple of defensive issues there, but again, Klein's improving. It's good to have Cahill back. And yeah, I don't know why Tyreek Mitchell isn't back in the squad, because I think he's done very well when he was called upon this year as well. I
think obviously Van Aanholt, he's good going forward, so it's pretty well he's got his starting place. And I think he assisted yesterday, didn't he? Yeah, he assisted, and so did Klein as well. So yeah, both your wing backs obviously doing exactly what they needed. And even defensively, like you said, you were quite sound yesterday. I know you struggled a bit this season defensively, which is not something you normally associate with a Palace team. But yeah, say no fault at all for the West Brom game. Like you said, they let was it Gallagher scored? You know, they
I think he's been a bright spot for him. I think it's being a bright spot for them. Yeah, 2 goals in his last 2 games for him, and I think he's actually one that seems to want to do anything for West Brom. So I think he's actually been one of West Brom's better players so far, Gallagher.
Yeah, he's been good last 2 games. Like I said, 2 goals. Pereira's normally a good creative spark, but he lost his head yesterday when he kicked Van Aanholt. So he came from him, to be honest. But...
Yeah, that was so needless, wasn't it? That kick out. I know, it wasn't as bad as he made out, almost like he'd been shot. But you just can't do that in these times, can you? It's just such a stupid thing to do, and especially now, obviously, he's going to miss the next game, isn't he? So
it's like shooting someone on CCTV. You just don't do it, do you?
Yeah, shoot him in an alley, for fuck's sake.
We've also realised Brendan Rodgers' vision of Klein crossing to Benteke many years ago when Rodgers was at Liverpool. So that's finally his vision has come true at Palace.
He's a
that's
genius,
what he wanted, yeah.
Absolute genius. All right, guys, let's move on to the other, I guess, big result that we're going to cover. Liverpool 4, Wolves 0. Who would have expected this with a shaken-up Liverpool team? And obviously the young goalkeeper coming in, he made a good save, didn't he? What did you guys think of this?
Yeah, he's doing alright, the old keeper. What's his name again?
Kelleher.
Yeah. That little dink save he made was fantastic. Watched the ball fly and just touched it perfectly at the right time. Really good goalkeeper from a young
I think that's
player.
A huge bonus as well. They've got a keeper. It looks like they trust him at the back. I think with Adrian in goal, there's a bit of nerves at the Liverpool defence. But with him in goal, 2 clean sheets for him in the Champions League and now this, it seems to be a lot of faith shown in him, and it looks like he'll be the next number 2 for them because based on those 2 performances, he's played very well for Liverpool.
Well, you say he commanded his box really well, especially for someone who's quite young. I think he's only like 22 or something like that, 22, 23. And he looked very mature actually for someone his age who hasn't had that much first team experience. Yeah, like I said, it's really annoying because at the moment, all the people that are stepping up to the plate to fill in all these injury gaps for Liverpool are doing quite well. And obviously Liverpool are second place, joint points with Spurs. And that's without having Van Dijk back and other really important players. So that's kind of worrying when they're still able to demolish, a pretty good Wolves side 4-0. Like, it's a bit jarring, to be honest, but...
The way they play football is just great, isn't it? You can't knock it, and the camaraderie amongst the squad, they seem so close, don't they? And if you look at some of the players he's mentioned there that were dropped in, we had Kelleher, obviously, in goal, and Fabinho, obviously, moved back from centre mid, obviously, to fill that position. Obviously, we had Curtis Jones as well. We've seen a couple of times, haven't we? But obviously, still a younger player, and obviously Williams as well. I mean, and even Cater, I guess you could say Cater. I mean, that's still, it's a lot of change, isn't it? To still get a result like this, as you say, it's scary stuff.
But do you think fans are helping out? Because we've seen fans back in the stadium, they're helping their team. So with Spurs, when they have fans in the stadium, Liverpool, they have fans in the stadium. It gives you that bit of a boost, doesn't it?
Well, Klopp was smiling, which was good to see, because it's been a while, hasn't it? But he couldn't stop smiling after the game. I'd missed it. But he seemed to
those pearly whites blinded me. Jesus Christ, I've never seen a man smile so much in my life.
Fantastic teeth. Obviously, Wolves... I never really know what I'm going to get with Wolves, and I don't know if they can make it onto that next step, or is that being too harsh because obviously they're playing Liverpool? What do you think?
I think without Jimenez, it's a huge loss for them because that's their main attacking threat. That's just
fair.
A huge loss for them. Although they did get a result against Arsenal, which isn't hard nowadays, but without him in their squad, I think you have to kind of change the Wolves dynamic and how they kind of play a little bit.
It is, because obviously Jimenez is their main focal point, so they had to change things around. Obviously, you can't really, admit that that's something they're going to have to deal with until he's back. But it's a bit of a strange one, I suppose. This was Wolves' joint heaviest margin of defeat in a Premier League game since the return back up to the Premier League. So this is quite a heavy one for them. I think the last one was like 4-0 against West Ham, funny enough, in September. So if Daniel was here, he'd obviously probably remind us of that game himself. But
Cody had a bad game, didn't he? Which isn't like Cody. I mean, I guess I feel sort of comfortable talking about it because Cody is solid all of the time, isn't he? But this is the one game I think I've seen him. I thought, he made that little mistake, didn't he? Which led to Salah's goal.
That was a shame as well because, like, before that, Wolves were actually the better side. They started really well, and like the likes of Podence and Traore looked really tricky. And I was thinking they're really going to bring the game there. Then Cody did that little mistake, and obviously the likes of Salah are going to, always latch onto that and make the most of it. You can't give them chances like that. And then once you're 1-0 down against the likes of Liverpool, it's very difficult to get back in the game, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's Semedo's happy he doesn't have to play there for a while. He lost 4-0 there at Barcelona the other season. Now he's gone 4-0 there again.
And he's got an own goal.
He's going to have a nightmare, isn't he? And Liverpool, they've won 31 of the last 32 home games, drawing one of them, scoring 93 goals in that time and conceding just 25 as well. So, I mean, that is ridiculous, isn't it? Liverpool's
that is an achievement. Like, you know, it goes quite under the radar, that sort of stat, but there's no other club that is even close to that sort of record.
No way.
They are definitely, you know, a league above everyone else at the moment. I hate to say it, but they are incredible.
Makes you realise, though, doesn't it? Do you remember Jose Mourinho's, how long he went unbeaten at home? Was it something like 5 years or something absolutely ridiculous?
Yeah.
I think it was longer than that, actually, between all the clubs he was at. I'll try and find that stat, actually, for the second half. That will keep you tuned in, won't it? But, yeah, absolutely incredible. Okay, guys, I think that's it for the first half, and we'll come back with the rest of the games afterwards. See you in a moment.
To keep up to date with the show, follow and contact us on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter at Favourite Football Pod. Email us at hello@favouritefootball.com. You can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/favouritefootball. Also, if you enjoyed the show, please give us a 5-star review. Name and shame us.
Hello and welcome back to part 2. And I left a little teaser for you, a cliffhanger before the break, and I can let you know it was 150 matches for Jose Mourinho unbeaten at home, and that was across 9 years, 1 month and 10 days.
Just a small bit of time then, nothing much.
That is absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous. Okay, guys, let's jump into the action then, shall we? Obviously, Friday, we were due to have Aston Villa versus Newcastle, but that game was postponed. I was worried when I saw that, guys. I don't know about you, but I thought, oh, God, this is a start, isn't it? This is the start of the issues. But, hey, every other game went ahead. Let's hope it continues like that. Let's go on to Saturday then. The first game was Burnley 1, Everton 1. What's happened to Everton? It's strange, isn't it? Because Burnley, obviously, they've had such a difficult season, haven't they, Burnley? And Everton obviously got some good players back, and it still just isn't clicking, is it?
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because I feel like Burnley are sort of... Obviously, they're still in the relegation zone, but this sort of result, to me, represented a further advance on a really bad start to the season. And it just sort of take that 1 point from 6 matches. But now they have just lost 1 in 4. So you've seen them turn the corner a little bit. You know, and it was a lot better. They were sort of attacking a bit more. They defended a lot better. Like Pope had a fantastic game. Like he made a lot of really important saves throughout the game. And then you look at Everton and they're sort of going the other way. They started so well and now they're in 9th. The form's a bit shaky. I think it's still recoverable. Like, you know, they're only a few points away from the teams above them. So you can't really say they've completely messed it up already, but you'd like to think if they don't win in the next couple of games, then yeah, they're just going to drop off. They've ruined their start they made.
I think realistically, I know obviously they had that hype at the beginning. They were looking good, but really, what was the reality for Everton this season? They haven't got a team that's as good as the top 6, have they? A squad, I don't think. They brought in obviously a couple of good players, but generally I think the whole team, they haven't got a team like Chelsea, Spurs, Liverpool, United, City. Do you know what I mean? There is always going to be that ceiling with Everton, and I do feel that sort of, it just is what it is, isn't it, unfortunately? Unless they get an absolute bomb and just keep building. I think they're always going to have this, aren't they?
I think they did recruit the right players, and they are good players, and obviously we've been singing their praises, like, from the beginning of the season. But like you said, the whole squad depth isn't necessarily great. We've seen when they've had injuries and suspensions, the players that do come in aren't up to scratch. I think there's still question marks over the defence. It's still a bit shaky. And Pickford, I'm still not convinced with him. And like, you know, Jordan Pickford has conceded more goals from outside the box than any other goalkeeper in the Premier League this season with 5. And there was another one in this game when Brady smacked it in. Obviously, it was a good hit from him, but it's just something that you sort of come to expect from Pickford now, especially when you look at the other goal, when you had Pope making all those saves. You sort of think, I don't think he's Jingen number 1 anymore. I think he's hit that really, really sticky patch.
Yeah, I think in the start of the season we were saying, weren't we, that Pope's got to be number 1, but obviously Southgate has his boy and he likes him, so what can you do?
But I think also most of the good teams in the Premier League are based on a good keeper and a good solid defence. I think even with maybe Burnley, they've got better defenders than Everton. I mean, Godfrey, Mina and Keane. Would you say they're better than Ben Mee and Tarkowski and Pope?
Defensively, Tarkowski and me are probably a lot more sound.
Yeah, Pope as well. Yeah,
obviously Pope's better than Pickford in my opinion, but
maybe that's where everyone are wrong. Maybe because even though we're saying Burnley are so low in the table, but we just said their defence is the players they got in defence is better than Everton's. Maybe that's where we think Everton going down because we just don't think their defence up to scratch.
The thing with Burnley is like normally would be higher up in the table. Like normally is their defence that sort of gets them there. You know, it's the likes of like Tarkowski and me and Pope that have such a good reputation amongst football fans because of the defensive work that they do. And, you know, it's got Burnley into really like mid-table sort of fodder most years. But yeah, obviously because of lack of investment in the last few years, like we discussed earlier in the summer, and players obviously going to get older, and sometimes you just need new ideas and new blood just to sort of keep the life in the club. I think that's why they are where they are. Whereas Everton, I don't know, even those defenders you said like Yeremina, Keane, or who was playing, they should be performing better, really. I don't know. I mean, he's played Barcelona, for God's sake.
But still, he wasn't even that good at Barcelona. Barcelona wanted to chuck him away. But if Everton went to Burnley, we'll give you 40 million for Tarkowski, you'd think he would improve Everton's defence majorly, wouldn't he, Tarkowski?
Yeah, absolutely. I have no doubt about that.
That could be the next move for them, though, because obviously Everton have got such a massive wage budget compared to the earnings. I think theirs is sort of the highest in terms of the ratio. Everton have got a lot of money going out of that club. A lot of big money going out, especially the new signings. I don't think they can just keep pounding money through because I think they're going to be in trouble. But maybe in the summer, obviously, we'll see some investment, possibly January. But I think Godfrey's been okay for him, and we'll keep an eye on him. Let's move on to the next game, guys. I don't want to speak too much about this one. Really, Manchester City 2, Fulham 0. We knew it was going to happen, didn't we? And it happened.
Well, it was pretty much game over after that first goal 5 minutes in, really, wasn't it?
Exactly.
As soon as De Bruyne slipped through Sterling and he just slotted in the corner, I was like, oh, I've seen enough. Just threw the TV off. That's it.
At least it wasn't 5, though. At least Fulham kept it down to a respectable 2.
Yeah, like, to be honest, from like Fulham's perspective, they didn't actually play too badly. I think they just come against a lot better opposition. And considering, you know, what we know Manchester City are capable of, like, was it last week they demolished Burnley 5-0, whatever it was. I think Fulham would have come out of that being quite happy, to be honest. But, Man City played very well, like you expect. It was pretty much the De Bruyne and the Sterling show. That was Sterling's first goal of the season, I think. De Bruyne had a goal and assist and also hit the bar, I think, at one point. So, you know, he's absolutely running the show. I know a few weeks ago we sort of said, oh, I don't know if he looks as happy. He hasn't been quite hitting the heights we're used to, but the last couple of games he's been absolutely scintillating, and that's again another scary thing. They've now just popped up into 5th place out of nowhere, so like we said the other day, they're going to be up there again. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Chelsea at the moment, obviously top of the table, they played an extra game, haven't they? If City win the next game, for example, they'll be on 21 points. It's a long way to go. There's no crisis there, and they were sort of looked a bit. They started off well, didn't they? And then they seemed to slow down a little bit, City. When they first came back, they seemed to play with quite a pace. They slowed down a little bit, but they look like maybe they're back a bit. They got their swagger about them. And if they do find that continuing, you do worry. Well, not worry, I guess, but, you know, they could easily go on and win the title. It's certainly not impossible. Guys, let's move on from that game then. West Ham 1, Manchester United 3. Brett, what did you think of this one? Game of two halves, the old cliche.
Well, it seems that way with all United's games at the moment, especially away from home. It's ridiculous. I think we've gone behind in all 6 away games, and we've come back and won all 6 of those games. So, you know, in terms of entertainment-wise or as a neutral, it's, you know, amazing. For me, it means that I'm pulling my hair out every single time we start a game and go 1-0 down. But we managed to come back into it. And like you said, it really was a tale of two halves. The first half, I think West Ham absolutely dominated us. You know, they had a couple of scares with the Bowen goal that was offside. They had quite a few chances. Fornals hit the post as well. It was, you know, then right before half time, you had them score that goal as well. And it was just panic stations, to be honest. Like, again, set pieces, we come undone. There was no one marking Soucek coming at the back post. I think Pogba and Tellers were both just sort of looking at each other like, I thought he was yours sort of thing. So, yeah, worrying, 1-0 down at that sort of point. But this is the thing that I sort of wanted to talk about was normally we have a go at Ollie, doesn't make substitutions early enough. At half-time, he bring on Rashford and Bruno Fernandes and the game changes completely. And I think on the hour mark, you bring a Mata as well. And it was I have to try and find where the stat is here. It's an absolute belter. There we go. So all three Manchester United substitutes, Rashford, Fernandes and Mata, were directly involved in a goal. It's just the second time that this has happened for them in a Premier League game. So all three of them were involved in all of the goals that we scored. Like, that's got to be some sort of, managerial masterclass at half-time to do that. If we criticise him for the stuff that he does, like midweek against PSG, a lot of criticism towards him, the fact he didn't manage the game well with Fred, he should have brought him off. We have to, at the same time, sort of give him praise for what he did do at half-time to completely change the game.
Yeah, that's a fair enough point. I do also think, though, from a neutral perspective, that, without Bruno Fernandes, you look crap. And obviously it was good he brought him on, and he had to, and he did it at a good time, and it paid off. And Mata obviously as well. What a fantastic ball that was for that goal. I mean, Mata is, we all know he's got that pass in him, but I can't believe one guy can transform a team as much as he does when he comes on for you, Bruno Fernandes. And obviously he's a fantastic player, but I mean, is he that good that he's that much better than anyone else, really? Or what's going on there? I mean, Pogba, I know he scored the goal, but apart from that, I don't think it was, a great display. Why can't he control the game more? What? It's weird, isn't it? It's a weird one. And we'll come on to Pogba actually after the game. Obviously, we need to discuss some comments made by certain agents. But
I think it's an attitude thing, though. With Pogba, he doesn't seem to care. With Bruno Fernandes, he seems to want to get involved in now. I think for the first goal for United, I don't think that should have stood because obviously the ball was out. Don't know anyone else's opinion on that. The ball was definitely out. But
yeah, it was definitely out.
I don't know what the hell was going on.
So that obviously that shouldn't have counted. But then, but Fernandes, he makes a United team tick, and without him in your squad, you just look devoid of any ideas, and that's how important he is to you. Like 36 goal involvements in 38 games, that's just ridiculous.
Well, eight chances yesterday after coming off the bench. 8 chances.
It's like you need him to function. Like you shouldn't have to rely on a player that much, but you have to because he's getting the best out of everyone in that team.
Thing is as well, especially if you switch that on, like obviously sort of talking about West Ham as well. At half time, you're bringing on Bruno Fernandes and Rashford. You would think from their perspective, they would have sat back a little bit deeper and just sort of like nullified the threat that those two obviously bring. But I felt like Devon Moyes sort of kept it really expansive still, and especially after the first goal as well was scored. I felt like, okay, really, you should be sort of just trying to defend that lead. But he just kept them going for it, to be honest. And I think as soon as you play into our hands, we just counter-attacked them. And then obviously that's when we saw like Rashford go and score a goal. Obviously Greenwood's was a bit different, but that was a fantastic first touch and finish, which is, we have something we haven't really seen from him in recent weeks. But I don't know, it seemed a bit strange from West Ham. They started the game so well, being 1-0 up. I felt like they should have managed the game a little bit better as soon as we made those substitutions.
I think 4-0 should have done better with the cross that came in with the header. Maybe slightly harsh. I do feel like he could have got it on target. And also I feel that one against the post. I mean, finished them. I mean, that's 3-0, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a different game, chances, isn't it? As soon as they score those.
And he just doesn't take them chances enough, I don't think. And obviously Dan isn't the biggest fan of him either, so I'm sure if Dan was here, probably why he's not here, he'd have a word or two to say on that. But okay, guys, let's move on then from the game and let's quickly discuss Pogba. I mean, we're not going to talk about it for too long, but obviously we've seen comments from his agent, haven't we, about him. Basically the same stuff, isn't it? Paraphrasing, he wants a new challenge, he wants to be creative, etc., etc. Brett, obviously being the United fan, how do you feel when you just read things like that? Same old?
I feel like Raiola is a fucking fat chode.
Yes,
I am sick to death of that man. Okay, I've got 2 things on this. Obviously, I won't go too much into it because we've got other games to cover. Raiola, shut the fuck up, because he comes out all the time with this bullshit, and he does it at the worst time. Manchester United got like probably the most important week of our season so far, We've got Red Bull Leipzig, which is obviously we need to win that game to get through to the next stage of Champions League. And then we've got Manchester Derby at the weekend. We do not need this media circus surrounding Pogba at a time like this. Just when I was feeling a little bit high about all these comeback victories, he comes out of that sort of shit. And then you move on to Pogba. And all these people that are sort of like, oh yeah, but it's Pogba. He's not saying it. It's his agent. Raiola works for Pogba. If Pogba's not coming out saying anything different, which he hasn't been, it's his fault. Nothing goes out into the media without he say so. He is fueling these flames.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that. He's not coming out and denying it, is he? And he's made comments actually himself personally. Was he away with a French team, or was it when you were on your tour?
Fucking several times.
Yeah, about, want a new challenge and all this crap. And I just think, do you know what? I just think you haven't been good enough. And just let the guy go. If you can
I think
get the
he's
money.
done. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think they're doing us over even right now, because as soon as you come out of comments like that, the price is going to go down. We'll say to like Real Madrid, yeah, we want 80 million. They'll be like, yeah, but he wants to leave. And he's going in a couple of years. He ain't going to sign a new contract. We give you 2p in a Twix.
And Brighton will have that as well.
I think it'd be worth it, because I don't think he brings enough to your team. I think I'd rather see a more sort of Chuck Fred in there, McTominay even, at least I'm not saying they've nowhere near the technical ability of Pogba, but actually in practical in a game, I think they can give something that he can't give. I'm not really sure what he gives, and
you're right.
Here we are again. It's been far too long, but let's move on from that, obviously, to the last game, obviously, of Saturday, which was Chelsea 3, Leeds 1. I mean, it's a little rivalry that's been going on between them, isn't it? And obviously, first one in a while, and also we had the Lampard-Bielsa. Lampard probably better equipped this time in terms of playing staff, of course, but a good win for Chelsea, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure he had a bit more money spent this time round to to deal with these problems. Do you know what? This is not an easy game to win. Obviously, Leeds are a tough outfit to play, and I think Chelsea getting a 3-1 victory again. I don't like how they're playing at the moment. They're playing very well. It is worrying. It's good to see Giroud, though. He's playing well. He's been in some great form. Obviously, he scored 4 goals midweek in the Europa League, and he scored in this game as well. So
yeah,
he can't stop scoring at the moment, which is good.
Yeah, good finish. 6 months left in his contract, isn't he? So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. But I think he's definitely got a place there at Chelsea, isn't he? Having a World Cup winner, a striker, can't be a bad thing, can it, to keep in the squad?
Well, he's scored in, 6 consecutive starts now or something? Something like that.
He scores a lot when he starts. Yeah, he scores a lot when he starts, but just doesn't always get started. That happened at Arsenal, to be honest with you, at times. So
it's a weird one, though. Is he just really underrated? Like,
yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I know what you mean. At Arsenal, he used to really frustrate me sometimes. You knew what he was capable of, but he just didn't hit that sort of consistency to sort of, get past that 20 goal mark, which you sort of need from your main striker, really. I don't think, obviously, he's that sort of man, even for Chelsea. I don't think he's going to get anywhere near 20 goals, but that doesn't mean that he's not a valuable member of any sort of squads. Like I said, he's one of those dying breed of strikers when he can make something happen because he's got that physicality. He's, good in the air. I think he does get a bad rep sometimes, and obviously he's still doing it even at his age.
Yeah. He's a World Cup winner, and he's the second top goal scorer for France. I mean, that's underrated. If people don't rate him after doing that, then what else does he have to do?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Frank Lampard wants him to stay as well, or at least that's what he's saying. So we'll have to follow that up, I guess, and see what happens if we get any sort of further news around the January window. Okay, guys, let's move on then to Sunday. We had Sheffield United 1, Leicester 2. I mean, that's heartbreaking for Sheffield United, isn't it? In the last minute from you-know-who.
Oh, do you know what? That was actually an amazing moment. Obviously not for Sheffield United fans. Sorry, guys. But when you just play through, and obviously you scored, Vardy, that celebration when he slid into the corner flag and absolutely demolished it. I was like,
caned it.
That absolutely personifies Jamie Vardy, doesn't it? I was like, oh, yeah.
He's a Sheffield Wednesday fan as well.
Oh, yeah, that's why we celebrate like that. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. He always does. He just does not stop trying, does he? It showed again, and this was highlighted again on Match of the Day, obviously, if you guys wanted to sort of check it out in an easy way, but it showed that he always makes the moves. from minute 1 to minute 90, he's constantly trying to make moves. He's an absolute pain, and it pays off, doesn't it? As soon as he went through, that ball went through, and you saw that it was him on it, you thought, oh, fuck, that's it.
That's it. That's literally it. He's relentless, and he will not stop the whole game.
Doesn't mind.
Which is why he sees that line. He leads that line so well because of that, because he will make something happen. And in those like really important, like pressured moments, he's the man you want at the end of it. Like you said, like he's in that elite club now of top Premier League strikers for a reason.
He is an elite striker, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm really upset he never really got a real go at England, to be honest. I think he was wasted there.
Yeah, we certainly could have used him more in the World Cup when Kane was absolutely done.
Dead.
Yeah. So if we're moving obviously to the last game, and obviously we've just actually finished this game, and that's what we're recording after. We had Brighton 1, Southampton 2. Interesting game. Obviously we had a penalty, didn't we?
Well, we had two
penalties, of course. Yeah, and the second one was just absolutely stupid decision, wasn't it? Was it inside the box? Was it out? What do we think?
So I think it actually was. Like, they looked at it for a long time. And I think obviously he starts making the contact just outside. But the moment he sort of leant into him too much for it to be like foul play, it was just inside, I think. I think it was a really tough call either way for the referee to make.
It was... It's weird because they kept showing one angle and I was like, oh, okay, it was a free kick, it's a free kick, it's a free kick. And then suddenly they sort of turned the camera around and showed it from another angle and I was like, oh, it's a penalty. So I guess it really does depend on your sort of perspective of it sometimes, doesn't it? It's a tough one, but yeah, obviously that was well taken by Ings, wasn't it? Ings, I think it was 49 goals in the Premier League now for Ings, I believe. So he's a great player.
I think he's got a good little run of away games as well. He seems to score a lot of in. Yeah, actually, it was a good game in general, sort of thing. But for Brighton, it was a bit disappointing because their home form this season's been terrible. They haven't won at home at all. And we sort of touched on Southampton last week about how they always start games really well, but the second half, they never sort of finish it off and they always manage to drop points. Whereas this is the first time I've actually seen them go out the second half and really take the game to Brighton. And although it was a bit of like a semi-controversial decision, it could have gone either way, I think, for the penalty.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think they did deserve it in the end, and I think both teams really fought. And it's a shame for Brighton, like I said, because they still haven't got any home points, or home wins, rather. But Ward-Prowse played really well again. I know he gave away that bizarre handball penalty in the first half when he was trying to play volleyball or wherever it was.
Or basketball.
Or basketball. Either way is the wrong sport completely.
Or netball.
I think we get the point, Ben.
And Ben, obviously, always keeping an eye out for Brighton, aren't you? How do you feel after this result?
I mean, they do love a penalty, don't they? I mean, they've had like 10 this season, I think.
Was that Brighton?
Yeah, they've had like 10 this season already. So they've scored 5 and they've missed 5. And I don't think his one should have counted today because he stopped. I don't think you can stop during a penalty no more, can you?
Yeah, are you meant to have like one continual movement?
Yeah, so I don't think that should have really stood because you can't just stop then keep going. That's what Pogba used to do back in the day, didn't he?
Yeah, that's why they do the jump. It's they've had 10 penalties, Ben, but 5 for and 5 against Brighton. So they've had 10 penalties in their games. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Every time they play, there seems to be a penalty. So either for or against them. But yeah, that was needless of Brighton. And I think Brighton will be okay. I find them a bit of a weird team. I do like Potter, and he gets a lot of praise. And they do play well. But I think that's basically my opinion on Brighton. I don't really think it's going to change much, to be honest.
But they're only 3 points behind Arsenal, so they're catching up to you.
Yeah, obviously our main competition this year. Who's going to finish 14th us or them? That's the big question, isn't it?
Maybe you can have a derby against them as well, just like Palace. Both make them just as much sense as each other. So
ours isn't a derby; it's more of a rival, really.
Well, potato.
Well, guys,
tomatoes.
That is all of the games covered. What an action-packed show. Guys...
the lack of enthusiasm they were saying that.
We are recording after, guys, so,
Are you still just butthurt about
I'm a bit old
Arsenal
for these.
result?
Yeah, we started with Arsenal. I'm getting tired. This isn't what I want. I'm going to go to bed, have a Horlicks, and come back with extra spunk for extra time. Join us, obviously, for extra time. Keep the reviews coming, guys. It's really nice, obviously, for us personally to see the reviews. And also, every time you guys leave a review, I know it seems such a small thing, but actually it really boosts us up the charts. And obviously that's great because it exposes us to more people when they search football, for example, on the App Store or whatever, and we'll come up higher up the list. So it really does help. And obviously we appreciate it, don't we, chaps?
We absolutely do. Keep going, guys.
Yeah, we do.
It makes me happy before I go to bed.
Yeah, which we're all going to do now together. Right, guys.
Not in the same bed, socially distancing.
Well, we'll see what happens. See you later, guys.
See ya.
Up the Dunnings.
We're back with more information, newsflash. No, guys, right after we finished recording the pod, actually, we saw some really big information come out and we thought, well, we best get back on the mic, eh? This is what we do it for the fans. Like when Ben obviously went to see Atomic Kitten, encore. That's what we're doing right now.
The tide was high that night.
But they're holding on.
Yeah, they are. They're probably still holding on. They're still going. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're actually here to talk about coronavirus positive tests. So, the Premier League have obviously released this 14 positive coronavirus cases. We mentioned earlier in our discussion, I said about the game that was called off, and I said it doesn't look like any more are going to be affected. Well, that actually may be incorrect, doesn't it? Because Newcastle West Brom, their next game, may also be cancelled. I mean, that's going to start to cause some problems, isn't it?
So, I take it those cases, are they from predominantly those clubs, Newcastle and West Brom then? Is that why that game in particular could be called off?
Yeah, I think was it the area of Newcastle that's been really badly affected? It's, I don't know. It's something like that.
But that's I hope it doesn't start going down that slope. If there's anyone to blame, it's probably you, but because you probably shouldn't have said that earlier in the podcast, which has now jinxed it. As soon as we said the last word saying goodbye, that pops up on our phones.
I know.
So,
famous last words.
I think you owe all these listeners an apology for ruining football.
Yeah, Ben, do you want to go ahead and do that? I'm wasting their time with your shitty Atomic Kitten anecdotes. No, right, okay. Well, that's it, guys. That really is it. And we really are going now. So we will see you in extra time. And, yeah, have a wonderful day. How do we end this little segment?
Maybe just say goodbye again. I don't know.
All right.
It doesn't matter what you think.
See you later.